Welcome to Good Read Series. Today, we're tackling a truly universal struggle. If you've ever felt that incredibly heavy, exhausting weight of anxiety, stress, or self-doubt just totally clouding your days, you are absolutely not alone. We all battle with the chaos of our own minds. But what if I told you that the suffering you're experiencing right now isn't actually coming from the world around you, but from a fundamental misunderstanding of how your mind actually works?
So, as we dive into this explainer, we're going to frame today's session as an emotional journey. Think of it like we're hiking up a really steep mountain, overcoming the obstacles of our own minds to finally find true inner peace. Our guide for this trek is Joseph Nguyen's profound book, Don't Believe Everything You Think. And trust me, this isn't just about positive thinking. It's a radical shift in how we actually experience reality itself.
Here is our trail map for today's journey. First, the illusion of reality. Second, thoughts versus thinking. Third, the art of non-thinking. Fourth, inspiration over desperation. And fifth, finding true inner peace. Let's just jump right in.
All right, Section 1, the illusion of reality, how our minds shape our world. We're stepping onto the first leg of our journey here by challenging the very way we perceive everything around us. Picture this. Two people are sitting in the exact same coffee shop. They're smelling the exact same roasted beans, hearing the exact same background chatter, but person A is having a full-blown quarter-life existential crisis, completely stressed out and overwhelmed about their future. Meanwhile, person B, sitting right next to them, is just peacefully sipping a latte, happily people-watching. They exist in the exact same physical space, right? But their personal realities couldn't be more different. Why is that? Well, it's because their realities are created entirely by their own internal narratives.
And that brings us to this really profound insight from Sydney Banks. He says, thought is not reality, yet it is through thought that our realities are created. Think about that for a second. The external events in your life, your job, your bank account, the terrible traffic, they're actually totally neutral. Our feelings do not come from those external events. They come entirely from our internal interpretation of those events. We can only ever feel what we're currently thinking in the present moment.
Let's actually test this out right now. Bring to mind a stressful thought about your job or your daily life. Feel that tightness in your chest? Okay, now I want to ask you a really powerful question. Who would you be without that thought? If you could just drop that specific narrative for, say, 10 seconds, what's underneath it? If you genuinely do this, you'll instantly feel this sense of lightness, freedom, and peace. The external world didn't change at all, but your reality did, simply by dropping the thought.
Moving right along to Section 2. Thoughts versus thinking, the revelation. This brings us to the absolute most crucial realization of our entire climb.
We have to understand that having thoughts and the act of thinking are two entirely different things. A thought is just a noun. It's that effortless, energetic raw material that literally just pops into your head out of nowhere. It sources the universe or divine intelligence. It's expansive, it's creative, and honestly, it takes zero effort. Thinking, on the other hand, is a verb. It's the laborious, ego-driven act of judging, analyzing, and wrestling with those initial thoughts. Thoughts create, thinking destroys. You see, it's not the thoughts popping into your head that cause your suffering. It's the fact that you start actively thinking about those thoughts that drags you down into anxiety.
I absolutely love this analogy. Imagine your mind has a thoughtometer, kind of like the speedometer in your car, but it's measuring thoughts per minute. When you're feeling massive amounts of stress, anger, or fear, your engine is just running way too hot. Those negative emotions are simply a dashboard indicator. They're a warning light telling you that you are doing way too much thinking. The intensity of your suffering is directly proportional to the amount of thinking you're doing. When you finally take your foot off the gas and stop overanalyzing, your mental engine cools down. And what happens? You naturally return to your default human state, which is quite literally joy, love, and peace.
So, how do we do that? Section 3. The art of non-thinking, escaping the quicksand.
Now, when people hear stop thinking, they usually immediately try to force their minds to be perfectly quiet, which, ironically, requires a massive amount of intense thinking. So how do we escape this trap? Well, let's look at elite athletes and creators. When they're at their absolute best, they enter a flow state. The Japanese have this incredibly beautiful term for this, mushin, which translates to the mind without mind. It's a state totally free of random thoughts, fear, and ego. It allows you to react purely on instinct. You don't perform at your peak when you're overanalyzing every tiny micro-movement, right? You perform best when you step out of your own way and just let your inner wisdom take the wheel.
Let's make this super practical. If I hand you a glass of murky, dirty water and ask you to make it clear, what do? You wouldn't shake it, boil it, or try to manually pick the microscopic dirt out. You'd literally just set it down on the table and leave it alone. The dirt settles naturally. Your mind works exactly the same way. When you're stressed out, your mind is dirty water. Trying to figure out your stress just stirs the dirt even more. Thinking is like quicksand. The more you panic and struggle against it, the deeper you sink. The only way out is to stop struggling, relax, and let the mind settle entirely on its own.
Getting closer to the top now. Section 4. Inspiration over desperation. Creating from abundance.
As we approach the summit of this journey, a pretty big question usually comes up. If I stop overthinking, what happens to my goals, my drive, my ambitions? Am I just going to sit on the couch forever? Absolutely not. What changes is the source of your goals. Most of us create what we can call goals of desperation. These just feel heavy. They come from a place of scarcity. We grind and hustle because we think achieving this goal will finally let us escape our anxiety. It's purely a means to an end. But when you clear your mind of overthinking, you shift to goals of inspiration. These are light, they're joyful, and they're abundant. You aren't creating something to escape a bad feeling anymore. You're creating simply because you want to share your inner abundance with the world. The creation becomes an end in itself. To cut through the really loud noise of your ego and tap directly into that limitless river of divine inspiration, I want you to ask yourself this exact question. If you had infinite money, absolutely no fear, and you knew you would receive zero recognition for your work, what would you create? Seriously, what is it? The answer that effortlessly pops into your head right before your brain starts listing a million reasons why you can't do it, that is your true, unclouded inspiration talking. Follow that.
And finally, Section 5. Finding true inner peace. The return home.
We've made it to the summit of our explainer today, the return home to your completely natural state of unconditional love and clarity. Now, I do want to be super clear here. Slipping back into worry and anxiety, that's completely normal. We are spiritual beings having a very human experience, and your ego is inevitably going to try to reclaim its throne. But use this as a reminder. True peace originates from the universe, from a state of lightness and infinite possibilities. Simply recognizing that you are caught up in heavy, restrictive thinking instantly dismantles the ego's power over you. The very moment you realize, oh, it's just a thought, the spell is completely broken.
I want to leave you with this incredibly beautiful quote by Dickon Bettinger. We are ever only one thought away from peace, love, and joy, which come from a state of no thought. Just like the sun is always shining brightly behind the dark clouds of a temporary storm, your natural state of joy and clarity is always right there, just beneath the noise of your mind.
You are always just one thought away from peace. Remember, you do not need to fight your mind. You just need to let the dirt settle so you can see clearly again. So, I leave you with this. What is one heavy thought you can consciously choose to simply drop today? Thank you for listening to this Goodreads episode.